Bob, I love what you do. I appreciate everything that the American Civil Rights Union does, and I appreciate, your writing and getting those articles out there. But man, to be honest, sometimes it can be overwhelming. It can seem like, man, everywhere there's a fight. It's tough. So is there any hope? Is there anything that can happen to make a difference?
Oh, all the time. We've not had real peace since the beginning of time because that's the nature of man. Mm-hmm. So there's there's nothing new here. Mm-hmm. Cain was a bad boy right from the beginning. So, we have that inheritance to live down to. But the good news is I do think people are waking up. And as an example of that, more and more people are registering to vote, mm-hmm. for instance. They realize they can't pass by a chance to affect the governance of our nation. And
I saw somewhere that Christians, just Christians, if every Christian voted, they would make a difference. And in the last election, there was like a very large majority of Christians that didn't vote.
Yeah, that's true. And you saw it during the 2000 elections. In the late 90s, something like 4.5 million fewer Christians voted than when they were voting for Ronald Reagan. And when I say they voted for Ronald Reagan, some of them didn't vote for Reagan, but he got the overwhelming majority of the Christian vote. Mm-hmm. They kind of sat it out in the late 90s. They didn't think the candidates were attractive. And then they came back in the early 2000s. But I think they'll be back very strong. A lot of more Christians voted in 2010 mm-hmm. than had voted before. And there's a group called Champion the Vote that is fixing to register 5 million new Christian voters.
Wow.
And they've got people registering in all kinds of states and organizing churches, and it's very encouraging. It's nonpartisan. The whole idea is vote your conscience, vote your biblical values.
I just heard this story today. I mean, this is how hot off the press it is, that there is a nonprofit organization that sent to this guy in Virginia, your home state, voter registration for his dog. They had his dog's name, and they were sending a voter registration for his dog. Now, this organization is going to be sending it to people, right? And trying to get people to register to vote.
Well, it's lucky Virginia doesn't require a photo ID, because I hear the dog takes a very bad picture. So, but seriously, Virginia just did tighten its voter ID laws,
okay.
but still stopped short of requiring a photo ID.
Yeah.
And I think that was in the face of a lot of pressure.
Starting in November, we've got voter ID laws here in PA,
yeah.
and there's a lot of people that are upset about that.
Yeah.
They say it's prejudice against certain groups of people and things like that, and I just don't get it. I think that there should be a way that we can prove that, listen, if I'm voting, I'm actually a citizen of this state, I'm a citizen of this country to vote.
Yeah, the Pennsylvania law is a good one, and it's been challenged by the ACLU, and the federal government may step in, as they've stepped in South Carolina and in Texas, to stop their photo ID laws, I think utterly unjustly. Mm-hmm. But the charge, let's look at that for a minute, the idea that it suppresses the vote of certain voting groups, minorities, young people, the elderly. There's no evidence it does this. Mm-hmm. When the Supreme Court upheld Indiana's photo ID law in 2008, they said they couldn't find a single instance, a single plaintiff in which the plaintiff was unable to obtain a photo ID in order to vote. Mm-hmm. So that's a pretty weak case. Also, when Indiana had elections after their law was upheld, minority voting increased greatly. Mm-hmm. So there's no evidence that actually suppresses minority votes. But I think that there's something deeper here, and that's the absurdity of thinking that minorities are somehow incapable of playing by the rules everybody else plays by. It's a soft racism, is what it is. There's this Brennan Center. It's out of the New York University, and it's a liberal group, and it's funded by George Soros, who is a financier of left-wing groups. And they came out with a study that said 25% of African Americans in this country lacked a photo ID. Now, think about that for a minute. A quarter mm-hmm. of African Americans don't have a photo ID? How do they drive?
Right.
How do they do anything? When South Carolina looked at its voting rolls, the Department of Motor Vehicles, which issues photo IDs, did a thorough study. And they found out that the number was closer to under 2% of people lacked a photo ID who were of voting age and were otherwise eligible to vote. And a lot of these people were registered under different names, like William and another jurisdiction Bill, and they'd moved. So it kind of messed them up. But it doesn't mean people are incapable of getting photo IDs. And these states that have photo ID laws, and there are something like 19 of them have moved to do this, they offer free photo IDs. Because one of the charges is that, hey, if you ask people to come up with a photo, it's like a poll tax. Now, poll taxes were Jim Crow laws, and they were evil laws that were designed to hold down African Americans from being able to vote. But we're way past that now. I mean, these voter ID laws are to protect everybody's vote, whether you're African American, Hispanic, white, whatever.
I tell you, it's interesting where we find ourselves in the country. It's interesting where we're being controlled by just a few people and some decisions that are being made by people that I don't know if they have any experience in really making decisions. We've talked about our president and his background in not really having decision-making roles and things like that. And are there people we talk about the issues, but are there other things that we need to be concerned about with this election coming up that are going to impact our future, that are going to impact that we need to be thinking about that maybe people aren't thinking about?
I think the biggest one that will have the most impact is the appointment of federal judges, including Supreme Court justices.
You think some are going to retire?
I think Ruth Bader Ginsburg is close to retirement. She's in ill health. She's getting up there, and I think she'll be the first to retire. But a couple others are in their 70s. Antonin Scalia. The next president will probably get at least 2 appointees, maybe 3. That could shape the future of the court. And as we've seen, the courts have gained so much power over the years.
There's no balance of power there.
There isn't anymore. The swing vote in the Supreme Court is the most powerful man in the country at the time they're issuing a decision. That's why Anthony Kennedy, the swing vote in many cases, is followed closely. And lawyers fashion their arguments just to appeal to Anthony Kennedy. They did that in the Proposition 8 case on the same-sex marriage, where California amended its constitution. Well, they know Kennedy, that's going to the Supreme Court, and they know Kennedy will be the deciding vote. And they know Kennedy is a guy who does appreciate constitutional procedure. He's probably kind of immoral on the homosexual issue. He's paved the way for some bad decisions. But in terms of whether the people have a right to amend their own constitution, he's probably solid. So I think that's the hope that the people who are supporting the marriage amendment have, that he has respect for the procedure. And people aren't talking about the court that much. They'll probably talk about it on June 25th when they render their decision on Obamacare. But it's about so much more than that. For instance, the court can right wrongs, and it's supposed to do that. The Sackett case is a case in point. The Environmental Protection Agency had taken this couple, Michael and Chantel Sackett, and just trashed them when they tried to put fill dirt on their yard in a residential neighborhood so they can build a home. Okay? And they came under the federal...
Why would the EPA care?
Well, they came in under the Federal Navigable Waterways Act.
Is there a river there or something that they were going to impact?
Nothing you could sail a toy boat on. But they said that because it got wet and puddles stayed, that it was wetlands. And of course, it dried out eventually. But that kind of bureaucratic bungling, or not bungling, overreach, is what the court is supposed to correct and say, wait a minute, did Congress give you the power to interfere in people's backyards like that? No, it didn't. Back off. So the Sacketts won the right actually to go to court to challenge this EPA ruling. That's all they won. They still have to make their case that they're not under this thing, but they couldn't even do that before. And the EPA has rendered all sorts of rulings that are beyond the scope of the power that Congress granted them. And we see that all over the federal government. In fact, I wrote a book about it called Radical Rulers. And it was all about the czars that President Obama has appointed, who begin making new laws by issuing new regulations and going beyond what Congress authorized. Because Congress gives the executive agencies the powers to carry out the laws Congress passes. But the executive agencies, if they're impatient, say, well, gee, Congress didn't pass that cap and trade law let's go ahead and issue the regulations anyway. That's what the Obama administration has been doing over and over, and that's why the Federal Register of Regulations has grown by thousands of pages in the last 3 years.
Isn't there supposed to be a balance of power there where shouldn't Congress be able to come back and say, listen, we didn't approve this, we don't like this, we're going to vote against this and shut this down?
You know, that's a great point. Congress ought to be holding hearings. They ought to be grilling these guys, saying, where do you think you got the power to do that? You didn't. They ought to be assigning special prosecutors in some instances. We've had national security leaks that make the Pentagon look like a sieve over the last few months.
It puts people's lives in danger.
And puts people's lives in danger because it reveals who's working with us, helping America overseas. I mean, the Justice Department has appointed a couple special prosecutors, but they're not independent. They come out of the Justice Department. This is the same Justice Department that dismissed charges against the new Black Panther Party when they were wielding batons at a Philadelphia polling place in 2008 and intimidating voters clearly, and were caught on camera. It was probably the most obvious case of voter intimidation we've had in decades, and yet they just threw the charges out. So I don't quite trust them to do the right thing here.
I've heard you say that we're in a lawless society, and the Scripture's pretty clear about when men of lawlessness run a nation, when they run a people, when they are running, and what God will do. But I pray. I want God to do things. I want Him to intervene. But as you were talking earlier, it's really also about our voting. It's about people getting out, realizing, getting the information from your website, the American Civil Rights Union, and then knowing what's there, and then voting accordingly so that I have an impact on godly moral principles that should be upheld in our nation.
Yeah, that's right. The government isn't some alien thing that's apart from our lives anymore. In fact, it's into our lives a little too much. It never was supposed to have this role. We shouldn't have cared that much who was elected president or who was appointed to the court, but now we care deeply because the government's involved in every facet of our lives. I happen to be a Reagan Revolution type guy, and I believe in rolling back things. Remember, Ronald Reagan was not content to contain communism. His policy was roll it back, free people from the grip of tyranny. That's what we should do with the government here in the U.S. I think we ought to free people from the grip of the welfare state, free them from dependency. Real compassion, Christian compassion, is to give people help, to get out of the situation and not incentivize bad behavior.